I rowed today, did lots of rowing. 15 sets of 10 to be exact. And I know automatically you're going to be like, this man's nuts. Only 5 of those 15 sets were actually working weight. The other stuff was basically just experimental. I did 5 sets of 10 with 80 kilos, overhand grip, my usual kind of working weight. It's a challenge, but I got through it. And then I decided to kind of experiment a little bit. I tried squatting. The squatting is not happening today. I did 100 kilos front squat and my lower back, mid back was lit up. So I couldn't maintain that maximum thoracic extension, maximum spinal extension position. But rowing is nice because you don't have to be in a full locked out thoracic extension to row. So rowing kind of felt a lot better. So I did that. So I did my usual 5 overhand, and I tried underhand as well for the following 5 sets with lighter weight, 60 kilos. That felt a lot more lats to me. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but the moment you go underhand, you basically have to tuck your elbows in. And when you tuck your elbows in, for whatever reason, it feels like my lats were getting engaged much, much more. So I started getting a bit of a lat pump with that. So I did 5 sets of those. That kind of felt alright, but it kind of felt awfully similar to a pull-up. Yeah, sure, maybe a little bit of activation through the traps, but I felt mostly lats. And I was fairly leaned over as well. And then the last 5 sets, I went even lighter. I went down to 40 kilos, and I went super wide grip. So wider grip than usual. Double overhand, and that was all upper back. All like traps. Rear delts, that kind of stuff. Hit 40, hit 50 kilos. I ended up going to 60 kilos and I ended up doing 5 sets of 60 kilos with that, 5 sets of 10. And I don't know which one is most applicable to what I'm trying to do and build that, upper back, stability for the deadlift, bench press, all that stuff. I guess you need all of them. You need all of them kind of mixed up to create that best scapular control, upper back, upper spine, thoracic extension control, all that stuff. I guess you need all of it. And, for the last week or so, I was kind of just rolling in one plane, in one style. And I thought, why am I doing that? This isn't the squat. I'm not trying to kind of, with high specificity, do this as well. Like, I sometimes get too caught up in my thinking. It's like, okay, this is how I want to squat. And a lot of that thinking kind of spills over to even my accessory work, where I'm being really specific to my accessory work. That doesn't have to be like that. I keep saying to myself, you can be very variable with the options that you take in for your accessories. Why does everything have to be just like locked in? And so I kind of had a thought about that, and I thought, let's just experiment and see what feels best. Really, not what feels best, but what feels worst, to see what the weakness is. I know for my history speaking, I've always kind of felt okay doing pull-ups. So I would say that my lats are pretty okay in comparison to my traps. I think my traps are just horribly weak. And that's kind of been, as a result of my choices. Like, I've always done pull-ups, and never done any rowing. Never really done any, well, not never, but I haven't really done in recent times lots of volume on the deadlift. And so there's no reason for my traps to adapt to any stimulus like that, because there isn't any. So it was a nice little experiment. Taxed as hell in my erectors, so I can't squat. I had almost an idea to kind of go back to back squatting, because back squatting is easier on the back, as funny as that sounds. But I didn't. I thought, look, let's stay away from back squatting for a little while longer. Not let my body forget, but let's at least put in a solid week without back squatting, and then go back into it and see what I can do with that. So right now I'm just purely hitting the spine. Yesterday I spent quite a while doing quads. I did lots of Hindu squats. I actually did them weighted as well. So today was, back spent from the day before that, and now my quads are spent, and so squatting wasn't going to happen because I can't stabilize the spine and I can't freaking extend the knee, and so it's kind of like I've got nothing to work with. But today was all about rowing. I literally spent an hour rowing today. And I think for the most part, the traditional barbell row, like normal grip, double overhand, is the best one to go. But instead of doing underhand, I should probably supplement the normal grip with the wider grip variation, because that's kind of taxing my weakness, which is that upper kind of traps area, scapular retraction, basically pulling the bar to your chest, upper chest. That's kind of where I find the least confidence, the least strength. And essentially what it does, it builds that shelf. It builds that, shelf for the upper back where you're going to put the bar. And then after all of that, I was on Google and I was researching, like I always do. I feel like I'm an anatomy geek, but I was looking at, into like, what did the lower traps do? What did middle traps, upper traps? What does the serratus anterior do? Like I was kind of thinking all about shoulders and shoulder depression and what retraction and, what I need to have a stiff upper back. And then I came across loo raises. Now, I didn't record any of this. This is way past the recording time. But I ended up, messing around with loo raises a little bit as well. So I took 5 kilo dumbbells, which is probably too heavy, but I tried to do them. Must say I didn't have the control that I probably should have had, but I tried to do loo raises and that lit up everything that the rows didn't lit up. It was basically, I felt warm throughout the shoulders, deltoids, traps, upper traps, middle traps. That's a nice exercise as well. So I might, mess around with that here and there, because it's just a nice feeling to get blood all around the scapula, because the scapula is not fixated like it is in the bench press. It's kind of like it just moves around in every which way, and it's kind of like works all of those muscles. Then I went down the loophole, the rabbit hole of watching Chinese weightlifters freaking train back with the, those big dumbbells, old school dumbbells. Watched all these videos, watched loo raises, watched not just Lou do loo raises, but all these other guys do loo raises as well. That's a nice little thing. So I might experiment with that in the background as well. But it's all back. I want to become a good rower. And I reckon it's already kind of doing, doing benefits to my posture. I feel like I'm walking more erect. And it's not the case when I do pull-ups. When I do pull-ups, I have worse posture. Now you might think, why the hell would that be? Well, that is because your lats, as weird as this sounds, internally rotate your shoulders. It's one of the biggest muscles, and it internally rotates your shoulders. Whereas when you're working traps, when you're rowing, especially when you're doing like those high, to the chest rows, that does scapular retraction. So that's the stuff that we need, because everything we do in our life is internal rotation up at the top. Everything. Your shoulders over the computer, over the patient, whatever the job is, over the car, mechanic, all that stuff. It's all about internal rotation of the shoulder. You're always working over something. So the last thing you want to do is do more pull-ups, which are further facilitating, further pushing this whole, internal rotation of the shoulders. So you're kind of constantly stuck in that, internal rotation. And so rowing fights that. This is another little example why it's more beneficial to row than to pull up. Obviously you need lats as well and whatever, but working lats in the absence of traps, you're asking for postural breakdown. And what is a front squat? What are we trying to do? We're trying to move through the squatting motion in a really strong postural position. This is where a lot of these things start to kind of add up a little bit. You can't be this slouch freaking couch potato, fully slouched over, right? 16 hours a day slouching like a slouch. You're a slouch head. And then come out into the gym for an hour and just be this fully erect, posturally sound freaking athlete. What are we talking about here, man? You can't go from full slouch 23 hours of the day, and for the 1 hour of the day you are this freaking perfectly erect posture, beautiful deep squatting, ATG squatting freaking machine. It's not going to happen. Let's start doing some rows to, address some of these issues. That's how I see it anyway. Appreciate all of you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.